Welcome. Thank you for being here. Today, Harbor House is presenting, and I'm really excited to hear about what they have to say. I know a couple of you still need timesheets. When they get started, I'll go finish up printing them. I have not forgotten about you. Welcome. I'm going to give you guys this. It's recording on my phone, so if you see something moving.
All right, cool.
Test 1, 2, 3.
Thank you for being here.
Of course, thanks for having us. Very excited to be here. I see some familiar faces in here. Yeah, I've seen me before, I'm sure. I'm looking at you. All right. Who here has heard of Harbor House before? Hopefully everybody. That's right. Very good. If not, you're going to learn a little bit something today. So I'm Stephanie.
I'm Sharon.
Yep. And she's our volunteer coordinator, and I do the prevention work, so I work with kids, and she does all of our 40-hour training stuff, and we're also cross-training her to do presentations, too, and some in bilingual, so in Spanish. I don't know why I said bilingual. That didn't make sense.
They may know what you meant.
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right, so what comes to mind when you guys think of domestic violence?
Material violence.
Mm-hmm. Awful.
Yeah.
Hurt and meaning.
Hurt,
Yeah.
demeaning.
Very much.
What else?
Our Harbor House, they're spoken.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That's a positive one.
I think that domestic violence is not just physical.
Correct.
Mental. Yeah, there's so many ways. Absolutely. Go ahead.
I'm actually a victim of that, and I know that it's both physical and mental, and it doesn't usually stop. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Yeah. All right. So we've all heard it in some level. We've all maybe seen it or know someone that's experienced it. So yeah, thank you guys. Okay. So why are we here? Why am I here? Why is she here? Domestic violence is a public health crisis. So 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men experience intimate partner violence in their lifetime. Each day in the U.S., 3 women are murdered by a current or former partner, intimate partner. Among mothers with children experiencing homelessness, more than 80% have previously experienced domestic violence. And also the number 1 cause of pregnant women fatality is murder, is DV. So just kind of think about that. Domestic violence is happening in your workplace, to your clients, to your volunteers. Last year, CANCOM, and that's our local
911 dispatch.
Yep. Answered 4,000 plus domestic disturbance calls, averaging more than 10 a day across Kankakee County. And I will say about 40% of just calls in general that our office respond to are DV related. And if you want to go further than that, 40% of officer deaths are because of DV, and that's nationally.
What's DV?
Domestic violence. I'm sorry. Thank you for asking. The leading cause of death for women at work is homicide. Why this matters to you? So 1 in 10 adults over the age of 60 experience elder abuse each year, often at the hands of family and members. Family members, only 1 in 24 cases of elder abuse is reported to the authorities. And then a survivor-friendly community culture starts with awareness and action. Right? So domestic violence is a community problem. This isn't just a Harbor House issue or even a Kankakee County issue. This is something that's statewide, that's in our country, that's nationally. So it shouldn't be a taboo subject. We should be talking about it. You know, we have to have those uncomfortable conversations in order to make change.
All right. So what is domestic violence and what causes it? Domestic violence is a pattern of behaviors used by one partner to maintain power and control over another in an intimate relationship. It's a learned and chosen behavior. Observations, experience, culture, family dynamics, communities, example, schools, peer groups, and it's not caused by mental illness or substance abuse. So how many have you heard that it's like domestic violence, it's a mental health issue, or it's because they drink or they abuse substances? Have you guys heard that before?
Yeah, there's so many people that we interact on the day-to-day basis that has, you know, those secret disabilities, that have addiction, that have mental illness, but not every single one of them is out there harming people. And that's how we understand that this is a learned and chosen behavior. You didn't just wake up one day with that in your body, right? Well, who's calling us?
So who are abused and who are the abusers? Anyone can be a victim or perpetrator of violence, and it impacts the community at large. It's like previously 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4. So if we were to count off, at least somebody has experience or knows somebody that's going through it.
So, some statistics. The cost of domestic violence exceeds $3.6 trillion per year. Trillion. Yeah, so if you think about it a little bit more, it's the loss of wages. It's calling the ambulance. It's having police officers respond to this. It's
Depending of if you destroy property that's not yours, wrecking other people's vehicles or personal items.
Yeah, it's expensive, right? And so I know a lot of us are very economically forward. If you hear that statistic and you think about that as far as finances, this is an issue that we would like to solve, not only for our pockets, right? 54% of 156 mass shootings between 2009 and 2016 were related to domestic violence. Actually, in recent, that statistic has gone up to 68.2%. And so you brought up Mercy Hospital. Can you talk about that?
So Mercy Hospital in Chicago, there was she was a nurse, I believe, and she went to work, and then her husband, because of domestic violence, he didn't want to let her go, so he came in and shot the hospital up and caused mass shooting, and that was here in Chicago.
Yep.
Not at all. Not very long.
Nope. I mean, he came for her and took other people out with it. So
yeah.
A lot of times it leads back to some level of DV. Nearly 20 people are physically abused by an intimate partner every 60 seconds. With that, in 1 year, this equates to more than 10 million women and men, as well as at least 15.5 million children in the United States witness domestic violence annually. Witnessing it is also something that you are a victim to. So often we hear that, well, he's never hurt the kids, she's never harmed the children. Those children absorb that. They see it. In fact, there's been studies that with pregnant women who have been abused, the child in utero is also affected by that. And a statistic, too, that I like to bring up is that 1 in 3 students in high school are going to experience some form of domestic violence, whether that's physical, digital, social. We'll kind of get into that a little bit, too, today. Any questions? I kind of threw a lot at you.
Yeah, so barriers. On average, it takes 7 to 9 attempts to successfully leave an abusive relationship. And then she had made a point the other day that depending on your demographic, it can be harder to leave because of the barriers get a little bit bigger, or not bigger, but there's more. Unique, yes.
So not to cut you off, I'm sorry. No, go ahead. But for African American women, that statistic turns from 7 to 9 to 10 to 15. And that's because systems have failed in the past. You know, you have to worry about not only your physical safety, but say your partner is Black and you worry about them getting hurt because you called the cops, right? And that's just an unfortunate thing that we have to think about, right? You get a little bit deeper, you talk about Native and Indigenous women, that statistic turns from 7 to 9 to 15 to 20 times. And that's because, again, systems have failed. There's a lot of distrust with working with our services. Often, we're an outlier because we're women of color, but often our services are provided by non-POC. So with being an Indigenous person, working with a white person, it's a lot of internalized fear. But then also they're in a literal resource desert, right? And so it's hard as far as finances, transportation, and whatnot. So it's a lot of reasons that people stay. So when you get into the certain demographics, that number's going to change. Yeah.
There's another thing for my situation was I did call the cops twice. And it was obvious that he had beat me up. But yet, since I defended myself and I actually hit him to get him off me, they were going to take both of us to
because that solves it.
And to jail and take our daughter to DCFS. And I was like, there's no way in hell I'm letting my daughter go to DCFS.
Yep.
Tell them about that client we just had this week.
I don't even remember.
Which one? Yeah, the strangulation case with the child in her hand.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, sorry. We get so many calls that sometimes it's like you got to block it a little bit to be able to be, go. Yeah. But yeah, similar situation. He was strangling her and it wasn't the first time. So we will be talking about strangulation, but she was holding her 2-year-old when he strangled her, knocked her to the ground. And of course, she very gently scratched like what she could, what was left of her while she was holding a baby, and the police took her.
Because they saw his wounds and only his wounds.
Yep.
Sometimes bruising doesn't start until a day
Like
or 2 later.
3 days, like, yeah.
Yes.
That happens, it's kind of another subject, but, when kids are misbehaved, what do you call that? Bullied.
Yep.
I mean.
It's because of
my son
bullying
was
at home.
bullied, And
Yep.
it's like, I've heard other situations, if they defend themselves, they get blamed for it.
Oh, yeah.
So that's maybe why domestic violence calls that sometimes police officers aren't the best trained.
Yes, and thankfully here in Kankakee County, they're a lot better because now, and especially Mantino, we work with them closely with. We have Jaden who works closely on training police officers and paramedics and all that, so they've been a lot better. It's still a big part that we still need to train them more.
Here,
but it's been a lot. It's been a lot better.
Yeah.
So do you think that's why a abusive person they don't call?
Absolutely.
They don't get
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. Once, if I've been going through it and I call you and you fail me that one time, I don't want to tell anyone else again.
Absolutely.
So you're stuck.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I
like,
wonder if some of those abusers start as being bullied when they're kids. Bullying is a sore subject with me.
oh yeah,
It's a continuum. So if we see it at bullying, right, we could have that opportunity to prevent future violence because it starts with bullying and then possibly harassment, then stalking, and then it moves to full-blown dating violence. So you're absolutely right about that.
And then the source of that, I think, is they must not feel good about themselves, so they have that power over other people. Am I right?
or it could be just that whole cycle of the parent. Something is going on at home, so now they're acting out, and it's easier to target somebody else, and then they just carry that on.
Looks like there's a great overlap between domestic violence and narcissistic personality.
Y'all could be working with us. All right, let's get into our theories. Go
So
ahead.
back to our barriers. So fear of retaliation, love, a desire for abuse to stop, but relationship not to end. Partner is not always abusive. There are good times. And sometimes our survivors hold on to that. It's like, well, when I met him, he was very sweet, very kind. And it's like, I know it's there, but the abuse only happens sometimes. Fear of judgment and not being believed, and that's huge. Language barrier. Don't want to break up the family. Immigration status. Isolation, causing lack of support. Abuser promises to change. Family, culture, and religious pressure to stay. And that's also big. Sometimes it's like it's like, God doesn't want you to leave me. Or if when we go to church, they're going to know that you left me. And a lot of time the church, the abuser is very charismatic. So when they're at church, they're like, John can never be an abuser. He's a sweet guy. Like, and so when you say that, it's like, maybe they're right. Maybe it's me. Shame and embarrassment. Systems have failed them in the past. Believe abuse is their fault and or normal. Fear of being outed. It cannot be limitations. And kind of back to the bullying, if that child was bullying somebody, they might end up like thinking that because at home it was happening at home that it's normal. So maybe they were the bully at some point, but now they found a bigger bully and they could end up in a domestic violence situation.
Yeah. Something I want to point out too, just in the state of our country, that immigration status is insane. And so, excuse me, I'm getting over something. A good portion of our clients are of the Latin community, right? And so I just imagine what's going on right now and how our country feels about that. Do you think they're going to be wanting to reach out for services with fear that they might be turned in? Absolutely not. So, yeah, just something to think about. Harbor House does not report to anything. We have a very strict protocol about that. Anybody comes to our facility, if we get cops that call us and say, hey, I want to check on a certain client, I cannot confirm or deny. Even if you dropped them off yesterday and they're in my building and you were the one that dropped them off, I can't confirm or deny they're in there. And that's period, just saying. So we're a safe haven. So additional common barriers to leaving in an abusive situation are specific to older adults and people with disabilities. These overlap with general domestic violence barriers that are compounded by age, health, dependency, and isolation. So physical dependence, feeding, cleaning, toiletry, mobility, etc. In fact, in our Illinois Domestic Violence Act, the 3 things that are on there that are really specific is abuse to children, neglect, and elder. It's a big portion of why our act was written, was for elder abuse. So lack of accessible shelter or housing, not equipped for walkers, wheelchairs, oxygen tanks, cognitive impairments, fear of institutionalization. It's a big one. Financial dependence, ageism, ableism. Senior housing has long wait lists and may not permit quick emergency entry, as well as controlled communication by abuser with friends, family, or service providers. Often, the folks that that commit elder abuse are family members. Family members. Yeah. Just imagine being dependent on somebody and they're not helping you with your basic necessities, such as hygiene and feeding and medication, right? This is a big one. And a lot of time, too, there's another portion of it is that it's neglect, but it is like passive neglect. They don't really realize what they're doing because of the lack of education, right? So I'm not excusing it, but I think it needs to be talked about for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That word,
Ableism?
being able to do something.
Yeah. Basically, it's like I have the ability to do potentially like normal things. So if you're in a wheelchair, it's like I'm able to walk. It's that simple.
yeah. So, a big one for folks who have to use wheelchairs or some assistance with walking or mobility in general. An ableism example would be that a facility doesn't have access for wheelchair accessibility, right? So you only care about folks that don't have an issue with mobility. But I can tell you what, ableism isn't just something that's going to affect a certain amount of people. We're young now, but we might be affected by that as we get older, right? So this is just something that should just be built into the facility in the first place. Yeah. Yeah, no problem. Thank you for asking.
A quick interruption. You need to know about the deadly consequence of strangulation. So strangulation is intentionally impeding the normal breathing or circulation of blood of an individual by applying pressure on the throat or neck that an individual or by blocking the nose or mouth of that individual. So it is a high risk factor for lethality. 43% of all domestic homicide victims experience at least one episode of attempted strangulation. A victim who experiences a non-fatal strangulation event is 750% more likely to be killed by that partner. Children witness approximately 50% of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is your big warning about strangulation. We're going to get into it a little bit. We actually just changed. I wish we brought some of our pamphlets. I will have to drop some off to you guys. In our pamphlets, we have a portion in it now that talks about strangulation because we're seeing it's becoming more common. Mm-hmm. And I work with children, and I'm seeing it's becoming more common with them. And not even just like as a tactic to harm people, but more so as it's a game to them. And I know that face I just got. Yeah, it's insane. Some kids do it, and it's like a game. So you basically hold your hand up, and a friend comes up, and they try to, they strangle you, and they want to see how long you can last before you pass out. Tell me why I was telling my mom that. And she was like, I used to play that game when I was a kid. Yes. And she said the only reason why we stopped is because the last time I passed out, I started to shake before I woke up. What is that shaking?
Seizure.
A seizure. Yeah, so sometimes the sudden rush of oxygen coming back to the brain can cause you to seize, right? These kids don't understand what they're doing. This is not a game, right? But it's becoming normalized within our culture. And I could talk to you guys about porn and how that really feeds into it. I mean, a lot of times we're not talking to our kids about sexuality and figuring that out, but they're often finding that out through porn. And that's showing you how to be in a relationship and how to please a partner, but that's not the healthy way, right? So, yeah, I know. And imagine me talking to that about that to seventh graders sometimes. I'm like, I don't want to talk about it either, but it has to be said, right? So some symptoms and signs of strangulation, so difficulty breathing, unable to breathe, neck pain, coughing, raspy voice. The amount of times I've been in our shelter working with clients, and so many of them have a raspy voice. So it's because of that prolonged exposure to strangulation. Some of our folks don't just have this happen one time. Sometimes it's years of this. Chest pain, pain with speaking, pain with swallowing, sore throat, numbness and tingling, vision, hearing changes, dizziness, lightheadedness, disorientation, feeling faint, loss of consciousness, gap in memory, confusion, fatigue, petechiae. Petechiae is when when you've been strangled, sometimes you get these small like bruisings. So it's like broken capillaries. And so you can either see it under the neck, behind the ear, top of the mouth. Sometimes, because strangulation can get really like specific with certain things, sometimes you can see it even below the legs, depending on where the oxygen was cut off.
Yeah.
Scratch marks, facial swelling. I think I'm just going to keep going. Actually, let's kind of go back to this. So, really quickly, how long do you think it takes to successfully strangle somebody to death? I hate even having to ask it, but I'm just curious what you guys think.
Go ahead. You said 2 seconds?
30 seconds, 2 minutes. Yeah, it's about 45 seconds and up. A lot of times people think like, oh, it's a couple minutes. The first 10 seconds you are passing out. Sometimes you relieve yourself. Other times too, organ starts to shut down once it's longer. And when we work with clients that have dealt with strangulation, just physical, like intense physical violence, they have cognitive changes now. So a conversation that could have been 10 minutes is turning into 30 because they just don't understand, and that's not their fault. That's because they've been strangled. So it takes a lot of patience sometimes working with clients, but just understanding that it's not their fault.
And sometimes, like she stated, it takes about a day or 2 to 3 days to show any signs, especially if you're of a different color or race. It's just because of how everything shows.
Yeah.
Plus, a lot of them, like, they were like, well, I'm fine. Like, they mentioned that they get strangled the night before. They called us, and they're like, well, I feel fine. And it's like, it could take a very slow for you to see any signs. So we do advise to go to the hospital
Immediately.
Correct.
Yeah, even if you're not wanting to report, I am just begging you to go get checked out because there's such thing as delayed death. You've got very sensitive bones here, so sometimes they break, right? And you don't know until a week later when you're back in the hospital dying, right? So it's just really important to go get checked. Yeah. Our hospitals have SANE nurses here, so that's sexual assault nurse examiners, and they are able to kind of walk you through that process. And we've got special machines too that will help kind of identify some of those issues with strangulation. All right.
All right. So another signs for our adult victims has unexplained or poorly explained injuries, whereas long sleeves or heavy clothing, hot weather to hide bruises or scars. So like especially now that it's getting hotter in the summer, is rarely seen without their partner or caregiver, appears anxious about receiving or missing text calls from their partner or caregiver, often misses work, school, medical appointments, or social events, has no access to personal transportation, avoids friends and family or sudden cuts of communication, always agrees with whatever their partner or caregiver says or does, seems afraid of making their partner jealous or angry, abuses drug or alcohol or drugs to cope, shows a notable drop in self-esteem or confidence, appears depressed or expresses hopelessness or suicidal thoughts.
Yeah, and I always say that, especially when working with people every day, or if you're just always with your friend, like, you know their base level of how they act, right? And so if you start to see something's off, I'm not saying, like, be like, what's going on with you? Tell me right now. Like, no one's going to want to talk, but just noting that I just noticed some things are going on. Whenever you're ready, I'm here. That's really, really important, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit later, too. So we got a Zoom. We only got you guys till 11. You can go ahead and do this one again, too.
Another signs of adult Oh yeah, same thing. So more of continuous misses medical appointments and physical therapy without reason, has signs of neglect, so pressure sores, poor hygiene, dehydration, weight loss, is missing medication or has pills that don't match the prescription, shows signs of malnourished or food being restricted, report someone else is managing their money without clear explanation, has sudden changes to their willpower, power of attorney, or property. Caregiver always answers for them, saying things like they're confused or they're fine. Has damaged or missing safety aids, glasses, hearing aids, walkers, grab bars. Feels powerless to make decisions about their own life. Lives in a home that is unclean, safe, or sanitary.
Yeah. Something I want to point out too with hygiene. Sometimes that is used as a shield. So if I know that my abuser likes to take advantage of me sexually, something I might do is stay dirty. Right? So these are things that we kind of have to think about too. So some signs, the signs for adult perpetrators, right? So has trouble expressing emotions verbally and blames others for their problems and feelings. That first one, this is why when I talk with kids, we are doing a lot of emotion regulation, right? If no one's ever taught you how to handle your emotions and you get into an argument 20 years later, do you think it's going to be healthy? Do you think that's going to be conducive? Right? Because it's important that we have discourse. But when that turns into me calling you out of your name or threatening to harm you, that's unacceptable, right? So it's really important that we're having these conversations at a younger age. Very jealous, criticizes or puts down their partner, especially in front of others, because they want to make you look horrible. Use verbal violence, such as name calling, cursing, and yelling. Use nonverbal threats, such as the look. Now, everybody has had a mom that gave them the look before. Listen, that is a common experience. But with our survivors, often we hear about that look in the courtroom, which is why we have legal advocates that can't sit with them. Because imagine you're sitting opposite of your abuser and they're looking at you. That's telling you that the next time I see you, I'm going to hurt you, right? So that might make you not tell the truth about what actually happened because of fear of retaliation. Breaks objects, particularly resources like phones or cars. Abuses pets and or children. Uses the silent treatment to control. Uses their partner's past against them. Threatens institutionalization. You'll end up in a home if you don't cooperate. Uses guilt or obligation. After all I've done for you. Exploits power of attorney, disability payments, or benefits for personal gain. Justifies control by framing its protection or what's best. Limits or blocks access to supportive professionals, caseworkers, visiting nurses, etc. They want to isolate you. How are you going to ask for help if you don't have a support system? Any questions on that? Very good.
All right. So violence and abuse. This all seems really intense. How could I possibly help?
Yeah, simple. It's that listen, support, connect, and learn. That's really, really easy. That's 4 steps. Listen, support, connect, and learn. And so with that, listen, communicate belief. I'm so sorry this happened to you. This must be very frightening for you. Just kind of validate that experience. Validate their decision to disclose. That's a really big thing, right? It must be difficult for you to talk about this. I'm glad you're able to tell me. As well as be patient. I understand. That's a big one. I understand that you may not tell me everything, and that's okay. I'm here for you and willing to listen to whatever you want to say at this time. Do you want to tell me more? We have a consistent client that we go back and forth with that calls us about her relationship that we're just like, girl, this is a total red flag. But she calls us, she asks us questions, we give her our honest opinion about what's going on there, and I might expect a call again a week later. Right? You've got to be patient about these things. And also listening to understand and not to respond. We get so caught up in what we want to say that we're not really hearing them.
Closing at work. So jobs might be jeopardized because employer lacks understanding or willingness to be involved. Some people blame victims for their abuse. Some companies are afraid of negative publicity. If there is a business connection between the abuser and the victim's workplace, there may be resistance to assist the victim. So that's like in smaller counties, a lot of time everyone knows everyone. So then it's like, well, like that's a family issue. You guys could deal with it. Or if abuser works in the same place. We've had that happen to where we went to do a speech and it was at Amazon and they both worked there. So it was very hard for her. Some employers may be reluctant to offer help or be otherwise involved. They may also be concerned for their safety of their employees.
There are some advantages to disclosing at work, though. So an employer has resources to offer support. There's a lot of jobs around here that have protocols for this. I was just working with a client who was just trying to get services for her daughter, and they just didn't have services provided to children wherever she works, but her job actually helped her figure out counseling. Like they have some places have support. So just asking is a big deal. Needing time off from work to move, obtain protective orders, attend court hearings, etc. Work performance may suffer during this time. A supportive boss or company may overlook a temporary drop in performance. I noticed that stuff's going on at home, and that's probably why you're not turning things in on time. So how can I help support you in this time? Safety precautions may be taken by informing coworkers of the situation and enlisting their help so that the victim doesn't arrive at work or leave alone or in danger. So like that buddy system's important. You know, I'll walk you to your car if you watch me to mine. Security or other staff are in a place to take direct action to help or notify the police if an abuser arrives at their place of work. So there's a protocol for it. All of this really does take like that education. A lot of it is a lack of education where employers just see that you're causing a scene at work and that doesn't look good for business, right? And so we want to make sure that we're providing that education as much as we can, which is why we're doing this business initiative. So.
But wait, what if they don't disclose? That's okay. If you suspect that individual in your life is a victim of domestic violence, consider your level of rapport with them and one or more following actions. So do not confront this person head on immediately. Build trust and keep an eye on them. Ensure them that you're a safe person whenever you have the opportunities. Ask about their welfare and show that you care. They will share when they're ready, and people will share once, because a lot of them are trying to get pushed away to get rid of any potential support. So the abuser will isolate them. So you just tell them like, hey, I'm here for you if you need anything, even if that's it. Just constantly hearing that, it's like a bit of positive in their horror story.
Yeah. Often they feel like they're alone, so just hearing that they're not is a big catalyst to moving forward for change. So support, so respect their choices, the right to accept or refuse help, resist being directive, you should or you need to do this. They're already dealing with ultimatums in their relationship every day, right? So the best thing you could do is support them and let them know their options, right? Be empathetic. Emphasize the unacceptability of violence. So don't bring up their abuser, because often they think like I have to defend me being with them. Just say that you don't deserve this abuse. At the end of the day, everybody deserves a healthy and safe relationship, and I'm not seeing that with you. Try to create a safe space to share information. Being safe and feeling safe are two different things, so acknowledging that. And then also, like, don't have this conversation in front of the abuser. I don't know how many times I have to say that. And then safety plan. So that's a personalized, practical plan to help individuals stay safe when they're experiencing abuse and violence. So sometimes the best option for them is to stay, right? Because of finances, because of children, and just instability in general. So what we can do is kind of help create a plan, but I can't tell you this is what you got to do, because you know the best for your situation. If I'm saying you need to call the police anytime something happens, but if you call the police, you know for a fact that they're going to physically harm you, maybe that's not the best option. So kind of talking through those things and guiding them through that plan for themselves.
Okay, workplace safety strategies. Physical safety measures. So share abuser's photo of the vehicle, alias, info with security, install panic buttons, provide priority parking near the building, escort employee to or from a car to transit, relocate victims from high visibility areas, ask law enforcement to monitor the employee's work alone. So if this one, actually KCC were letting us know that they had issues with I believe the guy was stalking the girl, and their safety department was very good at making a schedule with her, making sure that they walked to her classes, to her car. And I don't know what else happened with that story, but I know that was really nice of them that they had something in place for her to feel safe to keep coming to school.
Yep.
Workplace protocols and support. Screen victims' calls, block abusers' emails, alternate work schedule or transfer locations when possible, encourage alternate travel routes to from work, provide a work cell phone with 911 pre-programmed, ensure staff and victims know alarm locations and emergency procedures.
For communication and documentation, keep orders of protection with the employee and on file. Have that information ready to go. Document all abuse-related incidents at work. Develop an emergency plan or an escape plan for active threats. Regularly check in if the employee misses work or unexpectedly, and then keep all contact info private from the public directories. Don't put your cell phone numbers on your websites, guys. Listen, the amount of times I've worked with folks and they've got their info out like that, if I was a bad person, I would be abusing that, truly. Special circumstances and employer responsibility if the abuser also works there, right? So do not schedule both employees together or allow access to the victim. Shouldn't have to say that. Discipline the abuser for any unacceptable behavior. Just because they're going through stuff as far as like domestic violence, don't let them get away with that at work. It's unacceptable behavior. Involve law enforcement if needed. So for an example, stalking or threats. Support time off for legal and medical needs, and ensure no negative repercussions for the victim.
Your last one is connect.
Second to last.
Second to last, sorry. Help identify support, people, and resources. I believe you know what's best for you and your children. I have information that can help you now or later. So give them our number. The state, so it's Illinois Domestic Violence Helpline. They call every morning to all the shelters around Illinois to see how many beds we have left, or like what's our update. National, the hotline at thehotline.org, or the phone number, which also it's great because if they're in a different state, they can provide resources to either travel to Illinois or to, if they're running away, they're able to connect everyone. Other social services organizations, safe family and or friends who can provide healthy and accommodating support.
Yeah.
So even if we can't help them because of a domestic violence situation, we do have other resources we can give them.
Yeah, if you're looking for a food pantry, give us a call. We got a list for this county and Iroquois. So we make sure that we have an information for whatever else is in the community.
Yep.
And often we also don't gatekeep clients. If, you had something that was domestic like violence, but it was really heavy in sexual violence, maybe you should be working with Clove a little bit more instead of us. Not saying that you have to stop services with us, but it would be nice to also get work with them too. Clove Alliance, yes. Ooh, I can get you their info after this presentation. Yeah, they're our local sexual assault and trafficking agency. So pretty similar to us, except
Casey Casa.
yeah, Casey Casa. Have y'all heard of that? No.
Okay.
Yeah. They're great too. We do a lot of overlap. And then lastly, continue to learn. So continue to educate yourselves and others. Call out DV jokes and misconceptions and myths. I am not going to laugh with you if you come up to my table and say, oh, my wife needs this. Like, that's not funny to me. And it shouldn't be funny to you. In fact, it's unacceptable. Attend webinars, workshops, and events centered around domestic violence to strengthen your response. Create a safe culture and space for survivors in the community. Keep up with Harbor House. Right? We always have stuff going on. And if you sign up for our newsletter, we always send out little bits of information to learn. Videos, client stories, our upcoming events, our upcoming webinars, and things like that.
Oops.
I am going to skip that. Yeah. All right. So now what comes to mind when you think of DV? What do you think? Anything new? Anything you learned?
Is, I'm actually,
Yeah.
is that real, that you had all that information?
Yeah.
Assessments on?
Yeah. I will give you my business card, and then if you email me, I can email it back to you. Perfect. And then I will also give you my business card too. So if you want to email me, I can get you the Clove's resources. All right. Here is our services. Really quickly, I just want to point out that we exist to empower individuals, families, and communities through domestic violence programming, advocacy, and prevention. So that includes our 24-hour hotline, our chat line. I have been in presentations in schools where kids have logged into our chat line in the middle of my presentation. So it's used. Support with the court system, support groups, adult and youth counseling. We don't do marriage counseling. Listen, I'm not saying it doesn't work, but it does not work with DV. If I'm being abused by my partner, and am I going to be honest in front of them to my therapist? No, not at all. Emergency shelters, so we do have one in this county in Iroquois. Our resale shop and online store. Yep. So go to our resale shop. I furnish my house out of there. Half of my closet is from there. But also it does generate unrestricted funds for our clients. So we make about $10,000 a month. And because we're grant funded, so often we can spend money for our clients on specific things. But with our resale shop, we can help provide more with that too. So that is another way that you guys can really passively help our clients.
And 10,000 isn't a lot because we do have a lot of people. So it's a little bit of,
yeah.
The resale shop, what is www.com?
If you just type in Harbor House Resale Shop, it'll pop up.
Yeah.
Yep, it's in Watsika. And in fact, we have cards to take you right to it. Case management and then prevention and community presentations, that's what we do. Like I said, she does our 40-hour training, but we're also cross-training her to do presentations as well. And I'm the sole person that does prevention, so I work with our kids on a day-to-day basis. That's why I'm a little goofy. That's why I got crazy hair. Honestly, they'd be like, you should do your hair pink next time, and I've done that. So I love them. I love working with kids. But I work with college-age students all the way down to pre-K and elementary. I do a lot of age-appropriate conversations with them, and not only in the schools, but I make a point to show up to community events, to chaperone for certain things, to volunteer with teen groups, because it's important to have that consistent and safe face in the community. The amount of times I've had kids come up to me after a year of them knowing me and finally disclosing things, that's really important to me, so I take that very seriously. But that's all that we have.
any questions?
Any questions, anything?
I do have a quick question. I assume there are resources if someone is abusing, that there are resources that you can send them to, if someone reports abuse or something. But my question is, in your experience, what's the success of those programs? If someone starts abusing, how successful are they? Are you in turning it around?
I could speak on that a little bit. So I actually work with our coalition a lot closely, and that's our state representative, like our state domestic violence agency. And so they're doing an overhaul of our partner abuse intervention programs. Something we used to provide a long time ago, we stopped doing it because we realized it was helping abusers abuse a little bit more strategically. So it was kind of teaching them how to be a little bit more secretive about it. I will say that our county does have two programs that you can get referred through to our court system. A lot of times in DV court, our abusers will go ahead and take that choice to take a class, so they don't have to have it on their record. So there is that caveat. I do trust our coalition with them trying to do better. I work with someone very closely who works directly with abusers, and she's doing wonders. It's a very slow process, but that's the true prevention. Like, I could do as much as I can with working with kids to truly prevent it, but if we can get people that are often reoffending to stop, that would also help too. So we're working on it. I could definitely say that. Thank you for asking. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to ask you something. Is this everything that is community-based?
Community-based?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we serve this county, we serve Iroquois County, so we have both counties. We try to stay within our counties as far as providing education.
I'm not asking about counties. What I'm asking is, it's community-based. Suppose I'm from Asia. Okay? Somebody's from America, somebody's from Italy or whatever. And do they have that kind of community-based?
Yeah, so I mean, we try to help with clients any way we can, honestly. So I mean,
Because people who told me is that they don't understand either or other. They just smile and happily say everything's fine, everything's fine, and they walk away. But there's lots of domestic problems, non-Asian people.
Yeah.
And their difference, they cannot make or buy them.
Oh, yeah.
I think, or
Yeah.
they have problems.
yeah.
So how do we deal with them?
That, I mean, so culturally, it's kind of hard sometimes to work with other cultures that we're not a part of, you know, just because of fear or also just not understanding that culture. So we try our best. I would really like to diversify our staff a little bit more. And that's just something that we do have to work harder with. But as far as like language barrier and things like that, we do have a system with our hotline that we have free interpreters. So they can kind of have that conversation. But that's trusting someone else outside of our organization. That's a little bit hard too. But I would love to talk to you a little bit further. Maybe we can work together.
Let's say, I'm a psychiatric nurse myself.
Yeah.
So, I found it very difficult. My own country was so difficult.
Yeah.
To bridge the problem. And here what's happening is they take them for entirely a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever we say does not make any sense to them.
Mhm.
Even though I speak English.
Yeah.
Correct.
English is different.
Absolutely.
My British is
Yeah.
like British English.
Absolutely.
So what my jokes doesn't gel with you.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
Uh-huh.
Does your jokes make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
So then and I end up
Yeah.
saying something that's funny, and you may think, you may not as, oh, the girl was very, lady was very strange.
Yes. Yes.
And all of our services are free and confidential to anyone. And but you say we are trying to diversify more of our staff as well. So we're trying. It's a slow process.
It is. I would love to meet with you and just see what we can do to better that, though. Absolutely. I'm going to give you my business card because it is something that is a barrier. It is absolutely something that's not also taking to the forefront of our mind. That's often something that we think about last, right? And it should be first. It should always be up front.
I see a lack of the violators is in our
Excuse me.
country, spiritually, this country has run down. I have a Christian foundation. Treat others as you'd like to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and be kind one to another, tender heart, forgiving each other. I see a lack in our country that these people are not taught.
Mm-hmm. You're preaching to the converted. I will say that. Absolutely. Yeah.
But do you see that there's a marked difference between church and unchurched people as far as abuse goes?
Do you?
So we try not to mention or like whatever our client is comfortable with talking about sharing. If they believe or what they believe, if that's what's keeping it together, then that's what's keeping
be
it
it,
together. Yeah. Because we've had all sorts. We have cops, lawyers, police officers that sometimes we not work with, but we see in the community. It's like we know he's in our service, in our system as an abuser, but we're not going to go up to him and tell him. So it's like, it's different everywhere. So yeah.
I'm just saying that if you look at the church and you see the problems that
Mhm.
are in the church, abuse is very much.
I could give you my honest opinion. We do a lot of work with churches. We try to get in and do our presentations because sometimes when our clients have said that they've talked to their faith leader, wherever it is, as far as pastor or leader in that community, that sometimes they say that just pray it away, or that it is just how it is in a marriage and you must work on it. And so we're doing our best to kind of combat some of that. And I'm very faith-based. And so the way that I think of it is that God put me here to help other folks, right? And so those services are meant to be used. That's why God put us here. That's why God put these services here, right? And so, yes, prayer is beautiful. Prayer is it's absolutely needed, but you can also use other tools as well, right? So it's not the only solution. It's not the only thing, a part of that solution. And so we try to educate our leaders in the faith community to also say it's okay to ask for that help, right? Mm-hmm. Just like as you would go to the doctor, right, to provide physical help, you can also come to us to help with that emotional need as well. So yeah, there's a lot of lack of education within that that we're trying to combat. But we're working as hard as we can. There's only 4 of us in our outreach team.
God bless you.
Thank you. I'll take it. Thank you. We share an office. We are. Yeah, whatever. I'm her kid's grandma. Well, thank you guys so much. I know, aren't we so cute here? This is my first picture ever.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I will stand on this side so you guys can get your stuff. Okay, I have a couple announcements and then we'll have lunch. Yeah. Okay. We're going to skip the icebreaker because we just had a really heavy presentation, but I'm grateful. We need to know those things. So I wanted to let everyone know I'll be out of the office July 10th through the 16th. I'm the only one still, so it felt important to let people know I will not be able to be contacted during that time. Jen Mook will be the main contact, and I put her information later in the presentation today too, so you'll have that. Does anyone have questions about that? Okay.
You got that in some information that you gave us in here?
You know, it might be in the packet. I'm not remembering if I put it in there or not.
Oh, I know, I just.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right. So inside your packet, you'll find a meeting agenda, a senior center calendar, mobile food pantry information, a PTO fiscal year announcement, farmers market coupon information, and then an updated emergency contact beneficiary form. So because of some of our grant changes, we have to have a new form. Everyone has one in their packet. And I need you to take 2 or 3 minutes to fill that out. So it's emergency contact, and then for the supplemental insurance information, it would be part of that too. Yeah, Sue? Yeah, so we have supplemental insurance. So if you got into a car wreck while you were serving, whatever your insurance didn't pay, ours would. And so we need an additional beneficiary for that. Yeah. Any other questions about that? Okay. One thing that's really important, and you have this infographic in your packet too, the end of our fiscal year for 2025 is July 15th. If I have not received your timesheet by then, I cannot process it or pay you. So you can't turn it in late after that day. So that is through the end of June. So if I haven't received your June timesheets by July 15th, you will never get paid for it. Ever. Ever. Because our fiscal year closes and our grant year ends. So you can turn in July 1st through 15th whenever, as long as you turn them in by 2026, right? This is just for July 2024 to June 2025.
So the time, pay period is through the 15th of July, so I have to take a trip up here to make sure it got up here.
It's just for June. It's just for June. You just have to get your June timesheets to me. Your June timesheets, yep. July is fine. July starts the new fiscal year. Those can be late and you'll still get paid. Yeah, Patty.
So the next one that goes in
Mhm.
on the 7th of July,
Mhm.
that is talking about that.
Yes.
You better get that one in on the
Yes.
7th.
Yeah, and if you're late, it needs to be before the 15th of July. So, okay. Any other questions about that? Okay. Yeah, Kenyatta? Yes. Yep, I check them every time I'm here. Yep. Good question. Okay, you have this in your packet too, so hopefully that's a good reminder to you. I'm hoping to remember to send an email to everybody, about a week before this. I cannot guarantee with all the changes happening in the program that I will actually remember to do that, but that is my hope. So, any last questions? Okay. All right, you also have a senior farmers market nutrition program flyer. So a lot of people ask about this during the summer. They are having their coupon application and giveaway July 8th here at Community Cup. So that is for the Kankakee Farmers Market.
To apply for that,
I think so. On the flyer, I think so, but there's also a phone number on the flyer in your packet, and you can call to ask those questions too. Yeah. All right. I've gotten a couple questions over the last month about community-based programming. That's where Mackenzie Joe used to work. Because of them being short-staffed, all of their programs are now registration-based. So you have to register so that they know you're coming and so that they have the right materials. I put Natalia's information, Natalia Verdoza, and her phone number on here. Let me just make sure I put it. I did not put it on the announcement slide, but Natalia is your contact for community-based programming registration. Any questions about that? No, I forgot to put it on the agenda. All right. A reminder that Jen Wick is the acting supervisor. She is out of the office for 3 weeks. So until I'm out of the office, then I'm the main contact. And then when I go, Jen is the main contact. A reminder that we have activity bags and to check your rainbow folders. I'll pull everything out of those later today. And so if you put insurance information or timesheets in there, I'll grab them later.
What's that Jen's phone number again?
There you go. Jen is she's like number 3 at Catholic Charities. So she has a lot of things that she oversees. I would expect a delay just because of how many things she is taking on. A delay in communication probably. She takes on a lot. Did you get it, Joyce? Yeah, Paula. So you get like coupons that you can use for fresh produce at the stands, honey. I'm not sure. I think it's more than $5. Has anyone? Okay. Yeah.
There wasn't that much out there.
Oh, really?
Close to the end.
Okay.
Well, it'll get better. I've used them before.
Okay.
Not this year, so I don't know the exact denomination.
Yeah.
I've used them. They used to just send them out. I think they changed the program.
Yeah, they the way the state started giving those to Catholic Charities has changed, and so they've had to update.
They have to apply.
A handbook reminder about paid time off. So this is another thing that happens at the end of the fiscal year. If you are a stipended volunteer, you accrue paid time off for every hour that you work. That we pay out to you in a lump sum the first paycheck in July. So for those who receive a stipend, once I receive your June timesheet, I will add it on in a lump sum. So whatever you've accrued, that's what it'll be. For the July in-service meeting, I will put your final accrual into your packet. So I sent one out last month, but it didn't include everything, because we're not to the end of the fiscal year. Any questions about that? Okay. Here are the upcoming pay dates. Okay. If you didn't get paid, please see me. I don't think I have any timesheets held right now, but if something is wrong, let me know, and I can reach out to our fiscal department. Our next meeting is July 18th, same time, and they're here. The next holiday is Independence Day on July 4th. The office will be closed, so I know timesheets normally come in on the 4th. I won't be here to process them, so the date got bumped back for us that day. So they're due Monday, that following Monday. Our advisory committee combined, so it's all AmeriCorps programs for all of the counties are combined now. If you're on the advisory committee, hopefully you already know that. There initially was a July 8th meeting that has been canceled. So hopefully you got an email about that from Jen Wick, but that one's canceled and the next one should be in August. Any questions, concerns, things you need to run by the group? Yes, Sister Marianne.
I know we don't have an advisory in July, but
Yes.
are they here or are they still with the town?
I don't know yet. Jen Wick has not decided the location of the meetings yet. Yeah. I am guessing because Jen Wick is located at the Crest Hill office that we'll do a couple virtual attendance options. So I'll have a group either come here or to KCC, or you can call in. So she'll probably not lead it from down here. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. Okay, it is pasta and salad and cookies. There's water and other things. So it is out in the cafe. It should be set up. My parents actually had the day off today, so they came and helped set it up, which was very kind of them. So it is out there and you are welcome to go. I appreciate all of you.